Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Hare Krishna Project podcast. This is episode number 197.
Wow.
I don't know why I'm laughing, but we've made it to our 197th episode without being struck off air, without receiving any letters in the post. We are still broadcasting, and it means we are just three episodes away from our historic from our historic 200th episode, and we are moving very quickly to that. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. And, or if you're watching this on Facebook, that's the other platform where you can watch these podcasts. If you haven't already, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page so you can be kept updated as well that way. Okay, I say this every week, but I mean it. One of the things I love about this Seva is I get to travel virtually all around the world to all these places to interview some fascinating people. And I think I'm going to put together like a map of the world and color code it where I've interviewed devotees, people. And this week we're going back to the United States of America. It's that country that the Brits have a special relationship with, and we hear about it in the news all the time. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our guest this week. It's Alex. Hare Krishna, Alex.
Harry Ball.
Alex, it's great to finally have you with us. You and I have known of each other for a couple of years, actually. Krishna
Mhm.
keeps bringing each of us into each other's lives, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years, thanks to the internet. Okay, I'm looking forward to today's conversation. Alex, your first question is the first question that every guest gets just to warm them up. If you
Mhm.
need warming up, that is.
Mhm.
Please tell us a little bit about you and where you are from.
I'm from Newburgh, New York, Orange County, Hudson Valley area. I grew up pretty well grounded, I was not really poor, but I did live in a bad neighborhood growing up, and school districts weren't that great, but I made the best out of it for the most part. My body's ethnicity is Puerto Rican and Trinidadian. My mother's from Brooklyn. My dad's from Trinidad. He grew up the rest of his life in Queens. And yeah,
Wow, a real man of the world.
yeah,
It sounds like, and Queens. A lot of our audience are British. Queens, New York, I think.
yeah.
Did you grow up in Queens, New York?
I grew up in Newburgh.
Newburgh. Yeah, yeah.
My dad's side of the family is all in Queens. Yeah.
Did you have like a religious upbringing at all?
My on my mother's side of the family, they're Christian. My grandmother was a minister and she used to preach a lot in Christianity. My mom is Messianic Jew. She was really my whole mother's side of the family is super religious. My father's side of the family are kind of like more like lenient, free-spirited. They don't really talk about religion much. But when my dad brings up the creator or a creator, he usually doesn't specify names and he just says love God, and that's how he raised me for the most part. Yeah.
I love that. Your grandmother, uh, is your grandmother still with us?
She moved on to the spiritual world.
Ah, she was
Yeah.
a Christian minister.
Yeah.
I love that. And your mum is a Messianic Jew.
Yeah.
Amazing. I just love diversity in so many ways. It's just
Yeah.
okay. And how did you discover Krishna consciousness? How did you meet the devotees?
So before meeting, how did I meet the devotees is a really good question. So one day, I was out here in 2022. I was out on bond, when I was fighting cases and stuff like that. And I was supposed to go to this place called People Ready. They help you get jobs and stuff like that when your employment is not the best. You know what I mean? So they denied me for some other reason they never explained. So I left and I was really upset. And I just went on a walk to like blow off steam. And I made my way all the way downtown here in Gainesville. And I stumbled across Krishna House, not an accident. There's no accidents, but I definitely found this on accident. And then the first day when I first came up here in front of the porch on Krishna House, I met my guru, my spiritual master, Advaitacharya Das, and we had a long conversation. And he was like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I'm like, nothing." And he was like, "You want to help?" And I started helping the devotees here with Krishna lunch. Oh yeah,
Wow. And that was 3 years ago.
yeah, it was 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
2022. So just to, when you say you were out on bond,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
So I was fighting a criminal case, I had charges against me. I was out my family, my uncle, he bonded me out on bail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was kind of just free roaming for the most part. Not really trying to find work, but when you're out on bond, usually like you give money to the bondsmen and they bond you and they get you out, they release you, but you still have to show up to court dates and go to pre-trial phases and all that stuff. So yeah.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think in the UK we would just say they're out on bail. I think.
Yeah, bail, bond, it's yeah, pretty much same things, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking, yeah, out on bail. And so obviously there was something. It was, yeah. I mean, nothing's chance. Everything is completely
Yeah.
Krishna's arrangement. So 3 years ago, you were just happened to be walking past Krishna House, and you saw your guru.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and tell us about that conversation that you had with him. What was it like?
He asked me, he said, like, how did you get here? And I was like, oh, I just walked over here. He was like, no, how did you, like, what brought you all the way to this point? I'm like, my whole life? He was like, well, what happened? And I'm like, wow. I mean, it was really like, I remember feeling the feeling that I don't have to hide anything from him. I could just be honest, like, and it's still like that. Like, even if he says, "Alex, did you do something?" and I want to lie and say no, I just go, "Ah, yeah." It's like a weird power or ability he has. I don't know. And when I first met him, when he asked me, like, "What's your story? Like, what happened?" Like, and I was just honest the whole way through. Usually, even back then, I was very like offish and quiet. Um, I was very private about myself, but when I was around him, sitting on that front porch, I just felt very comfortable. Like my shoulders went down, and I was like, if it just felt like a new breath of fresh air talking to him. That whole conversation that one day, it was like
Wow.
11. It was the same time actually that over here. It was like 11 when I first came up to the Krishna house.
Maybe there's something auspicious about the number 11 or the time 11.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So that was 3 years ago. And now, fast forward 3 years, you're a resident of Krishna House. You live there, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
Which is for any of our viewers who are not in the USA, it's in Florida.
Mhm.
Um, Tell us about Krishna House. What is it? What happens there? That type of thing.
So Krishna House is like an ashram residence for people that want to come and learn about like Bhakti yoga and the Vedas and like Bhagavad Gita and stuff. And they learn how to do the artis like 5 o'clock in the morning. We do Mangal Arti and 4 a.m.'s Tulsi Puja. It's a spiritual center for learning. And also we do here on University of Florida campus, we do Krishna lunch and we serve prasadam to all the students here on UF campus. And I think it's like the most spiritually enlightening experience that I've ever experienced. Just serving the prasadam and interacting with the students and stuff like that. And also here, we have devotees that end up staying here. You can move in, you can live. And then you can get initiated, if that's what you want to do, you know what I mean? A lot of devotees, a lot of people come here just for the food and they end up staying. And the next thing you know, they're staying. And the next thing you know, they got a whole different name. Next thing you know, they're shaving their head. So, so
Yeah.
it's definitely an awesome experience. It's like brothers and sisters living here. All the devotees here, I see them like my siblings, and then all the elders, I see them like my parents and my uncles and so
Is it like a maybe like a halfway house?
I wouldn't. I mean, like you can consider that looking from a material perspective, but if you have the transcendental eye, if you're looking a little deeper in, you can see that it's because halfway house is like they're very like dry. You know what I mean? Like here, it's you can feel the love, you can feel the community, you can feel like everyone's support. You know what I mean? There's ups and downs. We're humans. We're souls in human bodies. You know what I mean? We go through fluctuating emotions and stuff, but the best thing is that we can come together, and still love each other at the end of the day. So I don't think halfway houses don't have that additive feature to it. Krishna House is very special. And Krishna House Dallas. Shouts out to the Krishna House Dallas devotees. So, and other Krishna houses I never mentioned. So,
It
yeah.
sounds to me quite unique or special because in a kind of traditional ISKCON ashram, it sounds quite different to a traditional ISKCON ashram
Mhm.
where men and women will be separate.
Yeah.
And if you live there, you have to wear certain clothing and you
Mhm.
have to shave up and those types of things. But Krishna House sounds a bit different from that.
Yeah. The men and women were separate. The brothers and sisters were separate. Still same things, but it's also very it accommodates everyone's progress on how they intake Krishna consciousness. So it's like you want to put on saffron. Well, when you're ready to wear saffron every day and shave your head, you do that. But it's all about what's going on here in the heart. You know what I mean? That's what my guru always tells me. He says, "You're wearing saffron in your heart, Prabhu." So it's like, yeah, I haven't gotten there yet, which I pray to Krishna that you know, I just go full-fledged and just put the saffron on every day. But most definitely what I feel like in Krishna House is that with Kalakanta Prabhu also as well, Prabhupada disciple who is overseer of the entire program, essentially is that it works for everybody's what's the word I'm looking for? Like um it accommodates everybody's best way
Yes.
of like their growth. It doesn't rush anybody and it doesn't really force anything upon anybody, but it still keeps the traditional ISKCON, the principles and all that stuff. So,
Mm. It sounds great, actually. I mean, I have heard of Krishna House. I heard about it years ago, and I did a bit of research before today's interview. But it sounds quite special.
mm.
As far as I'm aware, there isn't anything like it in Europe. I mean, I might be wrong, but I've not heard anything like it. So it does sound
Maybe
really
there could be a
special.
Krishna House London.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe you never know. Maybe if it starts soon, it's because someone listened to this podcast. Possibly, maybe. And just so we understand, the Krishna house that you're at, is it big? Do lots of people live there?
Yeah, there's a lot of us here. There's like 30 of us here, right? Yeah, there's 30. There's 30 of us here.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's quite a
Yeah,
big
it's
house.
yeah, it's a big
Wait,
house. Yeah.
one correction. Tulsi at 5, optional, Mangal at 6.
Oh, correction. Tulsi's at 5, Mangal Arti's at 6, and Tulsi Puja is optional. So if you're not an early bird, you can wait till like 6 for Mangal Arti. But be at morning program. That's definitely mandatory.
And how are you getting on with attending the morning program, Alex?
I wake up at 3:30 in the morning to start my rounds.
Wow.
Yeah, and I start chanting at like, yeah, I get up at 3:30. By the time I get downstairs, um, I start my chanting probably like 3:40 or 3:50. And then Tulsi Puja, I do Tulsi Puja with some of the devotees. and then I'm pretty much up all day since 3 a.m. So early morning program, and then Guru Puja towards like what, like 7?
7:30.
7:30, yeah, Guru Puja at 7:30, and then we do Bhagavatam class, and usually you have some devotees that will do Bhagavatam class, and I helped with a Bhagavatam class with Advaita like 2 times, so it was nice, that was new for me. I never did that, so I'm still getting used to certain things too. I'm being introduced to things that I didn't get introduced to in 2022, because in
Mm.
2022 I moved in here as well. I was staying here and the devotees got so close to me. And then I had to go away for a while. And then I came back and everybody's like, Haribol, hooray. So my mornings start out pretty early. And then my days usually end at like 8 o'clock. I'm done. I crash.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask what time do you go to bed at night if you've got that much energy at 3:30 in the morning, but 8 o'clock. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to come back to Krishna House in a minute.
Mhm.
But I now want to talk about body art, because as people can see, you're one of the growing number of Krishna devotees that uses body art to express bhakti, to express
Mhm.
devotion. Please tell us about your tattoos.
So when I already had like my face tats when I not these, but when I came to Krishna House and before Krishna consciousness, I got them because I
Mm.
was studying Buddhism for a while.
Wow.
And I always talked about enlightenment and I was seeing stuff about Kundalini yoga and all that stuff and the chakras and the third eye and all that. So I got the Agna and the diamond in my forehead. And that was just the start of my curiosity for Vedic culture and the Vedic knowledge. I got enlightened over my eyebrow, because that's what I feel like anybody should be like, to gather knowledge on all forms of the spectrum, whether it be mundane or spiritual. But also, when I was in prison, I started getting more of my devotional tattoos because I learned that whenever I get stuff about Krishna on me, or I put a scripture on me, usually people ask, "What's that? What does that say?" And it opens a door opener for preaching. So then I can preach to them the Bhagavad Gita, and I can tell them what Krishna said. And I also have verses from the Quran on me and stuff. And it brings just somebody, actually, a roommate of mine in prison said that I am the walking scripture. And I was like, okay. You know what I mean? I kind of laughed at that and chuckled, but I was like, please don't call me that. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's I don't know how to I love it so much because it's just like like you gotta love somebody a lot to get their name tatted on you. Like, like I don't know if anybody would relate to this. If, you have a loved one, like you're gonna be like, I'm gonna get your name tatted on me. You know what I mean? Like, or you have someone who passed away. Usually people do this. They tattoo their names on them to remember them. So also another reason why I got tattoos was because Mahatma Prabhu told me, Satyananda Swami said it in 2022 when he was here 3 days for like a little workshop. And then, and Kalakanta Prabhu told me before I left to prison, they said, always remember Krishna. So in prison, there were times that I would have anxiety about forgetting Krishna. So how can I forget Krishna when he's just on my skin? So since I have the Om on my face, I can't forget that. It's on my face. I look in the morning when I'm brushing my teeth every day. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like I'm gonna forget him. It was like anxiety. So, I want this picture, or like I want this on my body to represent this. Like I have Brahma right here and I have Shiva over here. It's just things that bring remembrance. And that was my biggest thing. Don't forget Krishna. I wrote that in a lot of my journals in prison. Don't forget Krishna. Don't forget him. The moment you start forgetting him, things go downhill.
Hmm. So, without being too nosy, how many tattoos do you have, or do you think you have?
Would you want to see? Can I
Not
show you?
necessarily.
Oh,
I mean, unless it's appropriate. I mean, a
it's
hundred
appropriate.
tattoos.
It's all up here, but I have a chess piece and I have a verse from the Sri Ijopanishad going across my chest in mantra 17. I knew Anilam. It ends. That's not how you say it, but I know the end is Amkrito Samara, Kritam Samara. You know, it's Mantra 17, so if anybody wants to like fact check me and properly get that said right, you can go and see that. And then I have, Brahma, I have the ISKCON prison ministry symbol right here on my elbow. And then on this arm, I have a lot of stuff for Islam. Like I have verses and I have Shiva appeared from the eighth canto drinking from the nectar poison.
You've mentioned, so already during this recording, you've mentioned the Quran, verses from the
Yeah.
Quran. You've mentioned Islam. Can you tell us a bit about your interest or affection for Islam?
Well, the originally when I was in prison, I always noticed that the ones that would the Christians usually like wouldn't like me preaching about the Gita, but I noticed that the Muslims they would just grow attached to me. And they would like hearing me preach about the Gita. Actually, one of the first people I got close to in the start of my sentence, his name is Derek, and Derek is Muslim. And when I first showed him the Gita, he was like, "Wow, this is awesome!" And he's actually supposed to come here when he gets out, so we'll arrange that. But um, I told myself if I can prove that Allah and Krishna are one and it's the same being, then I'll dig it. You know what I mean? I said if this is not Krishna, I want nothing to do with it. So I went to researching the Quran and reading verses in the Quran. And in Surah 10, in chapter 10 in the Quran, it talks about the creator creating, destroying, and repeating the process all over again. And when I saw that, I was like, wow. And then I seen in the first chapter in Surah Al-Fatiha in the Quran, there's verse two. I said one, verse two, because I have my Japa bag here. But it's Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen means all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Now, if you go to Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, verse 3, I found it says, Yom Majamanandam Cha Veti Loke Majvaram. The Veti Loke Majvaram is the Lord of the worlds. So when I see this, I cried for like 20 minutes because then it made me feel like okay, wow, like God is really one. Like we're all talking to the same Almighty Creator. May they worship Him unmanifested. Because Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, he said that there's two ways of worshiping me. There's manifested, and then there's me in my unmanifested, and then there's me in my personal form. You know what I mean? So some faiths of the world, they worship God unmanifested. We've been blessed that we worship Krishna in Satyananda Vigraha. We worship Krishna in his personal, beautiful form. You know what I'm saying? And God has form. This is another debate that I would have with a lot of Muslims in prison, that God has a form, you know. Some would accept and some wouldn't, but it definitely what drew me. The Quran is also the recitation in Arabic. It sounds like the shlokas from the Bhagavatam or the Gita. And Bhagavad Gita means God's song. So, I know that usually if it's from God, God vibrates when he speaks. He sings. You know what I'm saying? And when I heard the Quran, I was like, wow, this is from Krishna. This is from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I cried for like 20 minutes. I ain't gonna lie. I was in my cell tearing up like a baby listening to this recitation.
It's amazing. It sounds like, so you're only 25 years old. It
Yeah,
sounds like a lot's happened for you over the last 5 years.
yeah.
Quite in quite a short space of time. It's just a lot's been packed in terms of kind of spiritual information, religious knowledge, your own personal life. You've spent time in prison, in jail, and
Mm,
it's kind of been a whirlwind adventure. And now you find yourself living at Krishna House.
mm,
And yeah, I think your story's fascinating. And it sounds like that the impact that Islam and Krishna consciousness both have had on you has inspired you so much that you've got tattoos. linked
Yeah.
to Islam and Krishna consciousness. I mean, that's like,
Even though Muslims would say tattoos, they're haram, which is forbidden. They're
mm,
haram, but you know, feasibillah, as the Muslims would say, which is, to me are your deeds and to me are mine. So
yeah. What is this writing on your neck?
oh, it says those who love God never die. The love of God, the prema, is essentially we're spirit souls, we're eternal. But all throughout the different texts from the Bible to the Quran, to the Vedas, I noticed that love of God transcends matter. It essentially transcends the miseries of material manifestation. And I learned that love of God is what got me through a really like hard situations that my faith was tested. Like, you know what I mean? Like the prophet Job, you know what I mean? There was times that I felt like, man, I don't know. There was like a week in prison where, or no, for like 2 weeks to a week where I didn't chant, and it was bad. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, but definitely that love in that relationship getting deeper with God, Krishna, Allah, Ilaha in Aramaic, or whatever you want to call him. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, that's the goal. That's the blue pill out of the Maya tricks. You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean the red pill, excuse me.
We'll talk now a bit about your time in jail, which us
Mm,
Brits call prison. Uh,
yeah.
because you've mentioned it a few times.
Mhm.
If you're able to, and if you want to,
Yeah.
can you tell us a bit about it and why were you there and what was it like?
Yeah. So in 2020, I was involved in a case where I tried to break my two best friends out of jail, the county jail in Ocala, in Marion County, Florida. Out of loyalty and just pure radicalism, I tried to liberate them, and it was a really big conspiracy in that county. It was all over the news, and then they caught me, and then I had to fight the case. I was sitting in county jail from 2020 to 2021, or no, all the way, yeah, 2020 to 2022. Excuse me, March 2022. I got out on bail. You know what I mean, on bond, and while during the whole year of 2021. I had Bhagavad Gita as it is, and I was in confinement because when you're in escape risk, because I was charged with escape conspiracy. So when you're in escape risk, um, you can't be with other inmates, so they kept me in confinement away from everybody, because they're like, oh, he's gonna break out or he's gonna dig a tunnel or something. I don't know. But I usually would get books, and I was really into studying philosophy, psychology, and stuff and all that. But one thing I did have was Bhagavad Gita as it is. And when I had Bhagavad Gita as it is, I would run out of books to read, so I would read it over and over again. And I'm like, oh, this is good. Like it got to the point where I was like writing quotes from the Gita on the walls of different cells because each night they got to move my cell. So today I'm in this cell, but by the end of the night, I'm going to move to the next cell. You know what I mean? And they have to do that. So I was writing Gita quotes. So every time I move into a new cell, I'd have the Sanskrit and I'd have the English, and I would go and read it, and that's pretty much was like my deeper understanding of the Gita, which back then I was kind of atheistic. I was like, oh, I like the philosophy. I'm not going to say that this is real or anything. Like I was kind of weird about it, but I definitely fell in love with the purports from Prabhupada and just Krishna's words to Arjuna and the story of Krishna feeling doubt because they first offered me 13 years. The original offer was 13 years in prison, and I felt like that I was in a very bad situation, and I felt inspired by the fact that Arjuna, he was in a situation too where he felt like that all the odds were against him, but he had God in his corner telling him like, nah, man, you gonna be straight. Like I assure you, you're gonna be fine, and I'm gonna show you why. Then he showed him the Kala Rupa, you know what I mean, and show him like this is good bound to happen, you know what I mean. So I kind of like back then philosophically, I felt like it related to me, but later on, meeting Advaita devotees, then I realized like, oh, this is real. Like this is It's like breathing air. You know what I mean? Like God is real, you know? So yeah.
Wow. So, not completely related to what we're talking about. But you helped your friends break out of jail in 2020.
I tried to. Yeah, I made the
Tried to,
attempt.
tried to. And I mean, what were they in jail for, if you're able to say?
My one of my co-defendants, he was in there for a bunch of burglary charges. You know, he's very cat burglar, white collar, like planned job type of guy. He's that type of criminal. And then my other friend, you know, I love him so much. He's Muslim now. He's reformed and all that. I love the other one too. He's doing fine. You know, they're still serving their time, but you know, they cleaned up and they're actually doing really better. My other friend, he was just it was a bunch of charges. I can't really remember exactly, but I know some of it was like fraud and a few other things, aggravated fleeing of eluding, you know, that's like I love them so much, like both of them, like they're my brothers, you know. And at the time period, we were all messed up in the head. We didn't really know like what best thing we wanted in life, you know. But I can see now that we're all veering in right directions, you know, which is Krishna's blessing, you know.
Mm, mm. What was it like being in jail for you personally?
It felt like a world inside of a world. It felt like it's a microcosm in its own way. Like it's definitely you know, having the you know, because when I was in serving my 3 year sentence in prison, the Advaita and the devotees helped me get a whole set of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I was able to read the Srimad. Right now I'm at Canto 11, part one. Well, I finished it, but I usually when I finish a canto, I go back and reread it. You know what I mean? So I'm almost done with the Bhagavatam. You know, Krishna willing, if I have time, I could finish it because it's time to read the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I'm excited about. And I just having Krishna with me and the knowledge of the Bhagavatam and how stuff works, it actually helped me understand certain like the way how to deal with people in there in the Adibhutam, or you know, the material manifestation. It helped me understand what ticks, what doesn't tick. So certain things would happen in there, you know, because it's an environment of a lot of fluctuating tension, a lot, you know, a lot of people are emotionally scarred in there. So the Vedas help me understand how to you know, be equal visioned, like Krishna said, like to have equal vision. One who sees a Brahmana, an elephant, a dog is all same. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, you know, actually, you know, it's funny. Before this, some friend of mine called me from prison, and he have people coming to the phone saying, "Oh my God." They call me Hindu in prison. Hindu, like you're out there, you're okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing fine. And they're coming to the phone saying, I'm a Vaishnava. Like, I'm like, okay, that's cool.
That's great.
Jai. Yeah. And it's awesome that, you know, while being in there, I was able to teach the Gita to some inmates. You know, inmates get very curious because they see I got an altar in my cell with Krishna just everywhere. And they're like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "That's God." They're like, "God, you can't see God." That's the first thing they tell me. I'm like, "Yeah, you can." And I always quote Prabhupada. I tell them, it's not about can you see God, it's if you have the eyes to see God. And I tell them that. And then next thing you know, they keep coming to me, and the next thing you know, I'm giving them a copy of the Gita. And that's usually how it starts.
Wow. It's amazing. My next question was going to be, but I think you've kind of answered it. In terms of how did your fellow prisoners react to you as a Krishna devotee? You know, were they genuinely inquisitive, or were they kind of
Yeah,
having a
usually
go at you?
you get like a little bit of both. But you know how I always learn in that environment is that people, people are like, they, okay, like they'll ask me, first they'll say, "Are you a Hindu?" And I say, "No." And they'll say, "Okay, well, what are you?" I'm like, "I'm a Vaishnava." And they'll say, "Oh," and they'll stop. Then they'll be like, "Okay, well, what's that? Isn't that Hinduism?" And I say, "No." And because they pointed Krishna, a picture of Krishna, you know, and they'll be like, "Oh, but that's Vishnu." I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "So that's Hinduism." I tell them, "No." And now I have to explain why we worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Krishna, Why is he eternal knowledge, full of bliss? And then the whole conversation. Usually they're very, yeah, inquisitive. They want to know. But a lot of the times the answers to their questions, they kind of already know from the gather of the little knowledge that they probably have already heard. They just want to see if you know what you're talking about. Because a lot in that environment, like Prabhupada said, you got cheaters. They want to cheat. You know what I mean? So you got people in that environment that play intelligence and play like, that they know what they're talking about certain things and they really don't. It's something against them or judging them or anything. That's just how they are. You can be anything you want in prison. You can be a king and tell everybody that you had $1 million on the street. You know what I mean? People will believe you, but it's so much doubt and distrust in the environment that now when somebody actually knows what they're talking about and they're genuine, then they're like, oh, they get attached and they latch on quick. That's what I learned. Like a lot of guys would get really attached to me. You know what I mean? And, some of them I still have contact with. They're,
Mm.
I love them
And
so much.
and I suppose in prison you've also, to be really blunt about it, you've got time to preach. You've got time to share Krishna
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, obviously. You've got time
Yeah.
to share Prabhupada's books with others.
Mhm.
Amazing. So what have you personally learnt from your time in jail? What lessons have you learnt from that experience?
I learned that time is inconsequential. I learned that the most aggressive people are the ones that are seeking the most love. I learned that everybody in their own way loves God. It's just about how they show how they love him. I learned that sectarianism needs to go away and love of God needs to be attributed more. I learned also that the most weird places you'll find the most beautiful people. You know what I mean? I also learned I learned a lot about myself too. I learned that I need to grow more in certain areas. And I also learned that, that life is so precious. So like, why would sometimes I just walk around Krishna House. And it's just now I just look at life so differently now, it's just like everything is so, why I think to myself, why did I take everything for granted? You know what I mean? Like what was I thinking?
Yeah. I think it's great. I mean, well, great. I'm not saying going to prison is great, but you've learned so much from that experience, and it sounds like it's been a real reality check for you.
Hmm.
It's kind of like Krishna's. Well, Krishna puts us in every situation, even if we don't realize it at the time. He's put you in that situation for a purpose, and you've learned
Hmm.
through that, and you can now
Hmm.
share your realizations with others. And ultimately, you see, ultimately, we don't belong in this world. This isn't our
Yeah.
home.
We're foreign.
And all these material possessions are temporary. We don't own them. Krishna is the owner. We have them on like a
Hmm.
loan or like a lease, and ultimately, Krishna is saying, well, do you really love me? I'm going to take all your possessions away,
Yeah.
all of your freedom away. Do you still love me? And it sounds like now you've come out of jail even more devoted to the Lord.
Yeah. Like that part I don't really know how to describe, but it's definitely I feel like, and I told the devotees here, I feel like that I was deprived for a while. Like just being able to go and see like in the Alachua temple,
Mm.
there's Radha Krishna, you know what I mean, up there, just walking in and doing darshan. I'm like, wow, look at that. You know what I mean? I'm like, or going downstairs and seeing the deities. I'm like, wow, look at Gordnithai. Like, why did I take this for granted? It's like being taken out of the material world and being put in Vaikuntha. That's what I feel like it would be like. Like all just wows, just the
Yeah.
whole time.
And I think your story is really powerful, and it's quite unique to some extent. And I mean, if I was to catch up with you in 5 years' time to see what you're up to and what you're doing, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me you were now giving public talks, you were speaking in prisons yourself,
Yeah.
speaking to students like a mentor, like a life coach, Bhakti life coach. I think you can use your own experiences to bring others now to Krishna.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing, actually. So what are your plans now for the future?
That's a good question. If Waitha asked me this not too long ago, where do you see yourself in a few years? I was like, I don't know. I mean, but I kind of have a feeling of where I see myself in the future. I see myself just being in a position where I can help others and also be at the position my actually you can't be exactly like them, but I would like to be like Bhakti Tirtha Swami and like the Prabhupads of the world and stuff, just to help people. I just want to help people because I remember being in positions in my life where I felt like I was never helped. And how definitely see myself in the future is helping people and just bringing them Krishna consciousness in the way that they can resonate with from their angle of the view and bring more love into it. So definitely being in deeper in ISKCON and getting like, not as, because you can't, they always say, well, whoa, you want to be like Jesus. We can't be like Jesus. You know what I mean? We can't be exactly like Jesus. We can follow him. You know what I mean? So like the Bhakti Tirtha Swamis of the world, the Advaitacharya Dasas of the world, the Kalakantas, the Satyananda Swamis, like them, where, a lot of people look up to them and follow and I'll be able to touch hearts because they touched my heart. You know what I mean? Like definitely did. I felt it. Even the devotees here touched my heart. So I'm gonna be like them, so
And you revealed to me before I hit the record button that you're taking an initiation soon, I think.
yeah, yeah.
So tell us a bit about that, why you're getting initiated, and what it means to you.
I'm getting initiated because Prabhupada and Krishna said that to accept the spiritual master is a part of the process, that one cannot excel without the spiritual master. So it's like, like you get like I don't know if they have IKEA over where you're at. There's IKEA, like you get something from IKEA, you got to read the instructions, and highly likely if you don't follow those instructions, you're not going to be able to put together what you're trying to put together. So I feel like the guru is the best instructor. Like that's like how am I going to be able to fix a car without going to the mechanic? Even if I pay the mechanic, he's going to know how to fix the car. But if I want to learn how to do it myself, he gonna show me like this is how it is. Now, somebody who's trying to be smart, they can be like, oh, well, you go to YouTube. Is it the mechanic in the video in YouTube teaching you how to fix the car, or is it YouTube, the website? Like, so YouTube has consciousness. You know what I mean? No, like it's the mechanic. You have to go to the mechanic. You know what I mean? That's more logical, and that's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I want to follow I've been hearing stories of these sages in ancient Vedic history, and they reach states of enlightenment that solves a lot of the problems of that American society we're asking. Like, why is there depression? Why is there this? Well, why don't you eat prasadam and chant? Maybe that's the start. You know what I mean? Or like, why don't you just, put the phones down and look at life. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm trying to do it because I want to get out of ignorance. I want to learn more. I want to, I just want to know more to life that I thought that there was because that's what Advaita showed me. He showed me that there was more to life than just living. You know what I mean? Before I was just living, like surviving. You know what I mean? Now I feel like I'm actually starting to live. Like I feel like I'm born again. You know what I mean? It's weird. Like I can't explain that, but
Mm, mm. Do you give talks at the moment? Do you give talks now at Krishna House?
um, well, no, not really. Like most of my time is service. The two times, sometimes I'll help, with Bhagavatam class, but for the most part, I'm just doing service and like as far as like talks, like big scale, like nah, not yet. Not yet. I hope
Do you
so. I
have
would like to do
at
it.
Krishna House? Do they have Bhagavad Gita talks in the evening or later in the day?
Yeah, yeah, we have Gita class.
Yeah, I mean, I have I don't know the management at Krishna House at all, but I would recommend to them that they should give you a chance. Give you a verse from the Gita.
Mm,
I was going to say a relatively simple one. I don't mean that in a patronizing way, but just a nice simple verse and just go
mm,
for it, and just give class.
yeah.
Because I actually think you'd be very good. I can see a
Oh,
lot of
thanks.
potential. I can see a lot of potential in you.
Thank you.
So yeah, and then I could watch it on YouTube or something or wherever it is. Uh, it's great.
Yeah.
Um, okay, Alex, if you were given, it's kind of a hypothetical question. If you were given 5 minutes on primetime TV, on every TV channel and on every radio station in the world, you could give a message to everyone in the world at the same time. What would you say?
I would say you're loved, and I would tell everybody that to not feel like you're alone because, people out there, they feel like they're alone, they feel like they're just kind of just working and they're around family, but they still feel like they're not understood. That I tell them that you're loved, we love you, God loves you, and don't feel alone because you're not, because the hidden truth is right here. Even Jesus said it. I do not speak from my own authority, but the authority that speaks within me, he speaks for me. It's the Paramatma. I just tell them like that. You're loved. You know, I
Wow.
love you. The world loves you, you know. So that's what I would tell everybody.
And one of the things that I love about you, Alex, is you are really well versed in scripture.
Yeah.
You can tell that you used your time in prison really wisely. You've just
Hmm.
today quoted to me Bhagavad Gita, Quran, the Bible. It's quite amazing. It's just kind of come to you like that.
Hmm.
You're really grounded in scripture from a
Hmm.
range of religious traditions, and in a place like the USA and in most European countries, that's so essential, I
Hmm.
think. So you can speak to anyone from any background, from any culture, and you kind of understand where they're from,
Yeah. Most definitely.
which is actually quite rare, I think. It's actually quite rare. I'm
Hmm.
not being dismissive of other devotees, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know many. Certainly in Britain, I don't know hardly any devotees who've got knowledge of the Quran at all.
Yeah. There's also a verse from the Quran. Not to like be like, oh, look at me and show off, but there is a verse from the Quran. And this is also part of like Prabhupada said that this reality has danger at every step. Do you remember when he said that, Prabhupada? He said this reality has danger at every step. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's in a purport. You know what I mean? If somebody can find that purport, find it. Definitely. It's in the Quran. It says, "It's alladhi khalaqal al-mauta al-hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala." Is we give you this is Surah 67, chapter 67, verse 2. We gave you death and life to test you to see which of you is best indeed. This reality is but a test to make us stronger in a position where we can leave and never come back. And then Krishna said, Shukla Krishna Jagata Hiyate. He said, there's two ways of leaving this reality, one in light and one in darkness. You know what I mean? If you go in light, you never come back. You come in darkness, you come back. We gave you death and life, this death and rebirth. It's definitely the Quran talks about this process, this
Mm.
this is a molding process. Krishna's trying to mold us because we wanted to enjoy and we wanted to come here. Why did we want to come here? We can't remember, but it's like, Prabhupada explained it in a lecture. He said, like the father, he tells the son, don't do this, don't do that. But the son insists. I've been in that position. My dad said, I don't want you hanging out with the people. And I said, you don't know what you're talking about. And I go hang out with those people, and then my dad says, okay, you want to enjoy? You go ahead. Go enjoy. But during that process, I'm being molded, I'm being tested. But my father never left. Side note, I still talk to my dad. He loves me a lot. But you know what I mean? Shouts out to dad. But yeah, definitely. It's the same process. It's the molding. We're just being molded into so we can go back home. And when we come back home, dad will be like, "Oh man, finally." You know what I mean? You did right. This time at least, you know what I mean? So that was just something also I wanted to share. I feel like that should also be noted is that this reality is a test. It's a training ground. You know what I mean? And either you can take the training ground and not use it properly, or you can take the training ground and you can use it to your best ability.
Hmm. I don't know if you have one, but if you don't, I think you should set up your own YouTube channel. Because you've really given when this podcast goes out and you look back through it, you'll see you've provided some really good kind of sound bites. You know, like you've said some things that are really good, like 30-second snippets that are like, wow, that was so powerful. And I think if you were to create some kind my advice, some kind of YouTube channel where actually you can just kind of give these teachings to people, uh,
Mhm.
you know, and you can use references to Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, you know, whatever.
Mhm.
And I think people would find it so useful, particularly in modern times when certainly most big cities, people of different religions and everything.
Yeah, it's so much diversity. But
Yeah,
diverse is in like divide. There's so much divide, but our God is one. So it's like and this is what Bhakti Tirtha Swami always preached is what's why all this hatred and discommunication where why don't we just sit down and have a talk and understand we serve the Veti Loke Marjradam, we serve the Rabbil Alamin, we serve the Lord of the worlds. We serve a creator way beyond our thought process. You know what I mean? For what he told us, how he is and the type of individual that how he loves and how he's most compassionate, most merciful. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. You know what I mean? Like we should be able to love each other. You know, if there's so much hurt going on right now. There's so much, and all people need to understand is once love comes into the question, like my guru tells me, once you show people that they're loved, they start warming up a little bit, and then you can get here. Here's this prasadam. You know what I mean? You want to eat, you know, you're hungry, and then have a conversation like, are you okay? Like, you know, like I don't hate you because you call God another name. I actually love you more for that. You know what I mean? Like you want to pray, you want to do salat, do your salat. You want to say Hosanna, say Hosanna, you know, like whatever, you know, like if that's how you resonate, you know, in the Quran it says in Surah 17 Al-Isra, it says, whichever name you call him, this is verse 110, whichever name you call him, he has the best of names, so call upon him. You know, this is what it said. He has the best of them. Call upon the names. You know what I mean? We need more unity. That's what I'm calling for. More unity, no more divide. What is this? Even the Vaishnavas too, guys. Let's stop. You know, we need it's not just ISKCON. This is an international society where doors are open, you know, for the rabbis, for the imams, for the priests, you know, for the deacons, you know what I mean? So yeah.
it's great. I love it. I think you and I are cut from the same cloth. I agree with, I think everything you've said actually, which is great. Um, I was going to ask just before we finish. I was going to ask
Yeah.
about your parents. What kind, you know, what do your parents think about your life now, living at Krishna House?
My dad loves it. My dad is like, "Oh, you're doing something positive." Yes, you know what I mean? Like after being so negative for a few years, yes, you know what I mean? My mom, I haven't really heard, but my mom's always busy, so she hasn't really put her input on it. But from what family members tell me, she's like, you know, she's like, okay, you know, she's just very like, okay, let's see how Alex is gonna do now, you know? So I'm not trying to prove for human beings I do it for Krishna. At the same time, I want to show them, like, guys, I'm reformed for real this time. Like, I'm not playing. Like, this is not a joke. You know what I mean? I'm being serious, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I've got all these things in my head now. You mentioned earlier you've got a tattoo of the ISKCON prison ministry.
Yeah. It's right here. It's on my elbow.
Yeah. I mean, tell us a bit about the ISKCON prison ministry. You know, what do they do and
So,
how active are they?
so as far as I know from what the knowledge has been given to me, is that the IPM has been in Florida or just for a few years now, you know what I mean? I'm still getting an introduction to them, but they distribute books and they send books to prisons. You know what I mean? And they get, like shouts out to Bhakti Lata. She helped Advaita get me my Bhagavatam, or she helped me get a bunch of stuff. And she's just great. You know what I mean? And their main thing is getting prisoners access to Vedic knowledge and bush distribution, doing Krishna Katha, you know what I mean? And that I want to join the IPM fully out here and see what I can do as far as contribution is concerned. When I have the time, I'll probably be like when I'm not doing service or you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think it sounds great. I mean, I don't know if there's an ISKCON prison ministry in Britain, but I'm always thinking about. I get to the end of every year, so we're almost at the end of this year, and I look back and think, what have I done for Prabhupada? You know, we're doing a lot here at the Hare Krishna Project, but I'm never complacent, and I want to do more, and I always feel a bit disappointed. I could have done more, and it's interesting how Krishna arranges things because I had a conversation with someone 7 days ago about prison ministry. I've never been to prison. I've never visited anyone in prison, but uh, there's. I just want to preach. I just want to share Krishna consciousness with people. I don't care who they are, where they're
Yeah.
from, you know. So I just want to go and visit a prison and take some books,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. My guru said you got to separate sin from sinner. You know what I mean? So you got to separate. I don't like I'd say the same thing to guys that come up to me and want to learn the Gita, and I tell them, I don't care what you're in here for. That's not what we're here talking about. Because they'd be like, well, I got messed up because, and I cut them off like, hey, I don't want to hear that. I'm just here to tell you what Krishna said and how you can make your situation better. And like the Muslims say, inshallah, God willing, you learn. Inshallah, you don't. Alhamdulillah. You know what I mean? It's at that point, like it's just this is what the beauty of Krishna consciousness is. When I first came here, nobody said, "Oh, you're from this background. We don't want you around here." No, they said, "No, please come take more prasadam." Like Prabhu, like you want to sit down and then you want to sit in Bhagavatam class, like they accepted me for who I am, and I think that's what the core reason. Remember, Prabhupada was accepting the hippies, man. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like that's the whole thing. Like we know that people come from, lives of birth in unplausible situations. You know what I mean? We're not going to judge you for that. We're not going to turn you away. And as far as people in prison is concerned, you know what I mean? Yeah, you might have done something messed up that got you in here, but now you're here asking me question about Krishna. So, Bahunam Janmanamanti, you took many lives to get here. You know what I mean? So.
Great. Well, I love talking to you, Alex. I think you're a great guy and you're very inspiring and you've been very easy to talk to today. It's been quite nice for me because we've been in contact for at least 2 years. Uh,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
and I can't remember how it started, but yeah, I'm just pleased that we're doing this. We've done this podcast recording today.
Yeah.
So we've been recording for about an hour already, believe it or not.
Wow. Time flies
Yeah,
when you're having fun.
exactly. Time goes very quick. So I think what I'm going to do is say goodbye to the viewers and listeners at home, or wherever they watch these podcasts, in
Hmm.
Starbucks, on the bus, or even in prison. I don't know. Can you watch things on the internet in prison?
Yeah, they can get access. It's all about
Get
how they get
access.
it.
Well, you obviously got access to the internet in prison.
Yes, I did.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but um, okay. So stay on the line. Stay on the line. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
So a big thank you to Alex, uh, who's at Krishna House in Florida, for being guest 197 on the Hare Krishna Project podcast.
Harry
Quite
Bull.
amazing. Uh, quite amazing. I'm sorry that he's had to wait 197 episodes to, to appear as a guest. But I've just loved the conversation. I've loved his honesty, and he's just kind of opened himself up, and I hope that others find his story inspiring. Okay, do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. Or if you're watching this on Facebook and you haven't already, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page. Okay, until next week, I will see you all soon. Thank you, and
Srila
Hare
Prabhupada
Krishna.
ki.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.